Let me get deep with you here. Are you just a quarterback, or are you the blueprint for how quarterback play is defined? Because when it comes to Peyton Manning, it wasn't just about throwing touchdowns, it was about owning the game. Reading defenses like a chess master, calling audibles that felt like prophecies, and running 2-minute drills like a symphony conductor. He wasn't just great. He was clinical, commanding, and control. So how good was prime Peyton Manning really? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Peyton Williams Manning was born on March 24, 1976 in New Orleans, Louisiana, football royalty from birth. His father, Archie Manning, was an NFL quarterback for the Saints, Oilers, and Vikings. His younger brother, Eli Manning, would go on to win 2 Super Bowls of his own, but even in a house full of quarterbacks, Peyton stood out. From high school in Isidore Newman to college at the University of Tennessee, he was already being called a future Hall of Famer. At Tennessee, he shattered school records. Over his career, he had 11,201 passing yards, 89 passing touchdowns, and 12 rushing touchdowns, a 62.5% career completion percentage, a 4-year starter in the SEC, mind you, and a level of poise most quarterbacks never reach, even as pros. In 1998, the Indianapolis Colts had the #1 overall pick. They took Manning over Ryan Leaf, a decision that would define the franchise. And from that moment on, nothing in Indianapolis would ever be the same. Peyton Manning's rookie season wasn't perfect. He threw 28 interceptions, which is still a rookie record, but even then, you saw it. The pre-snap control, the laser-sharp accuracy, the leadership. And in year 2, he exploded. 4,135 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, a 13-3 record, and a Pro Bowl selection. It was the start of something historic. Now let's talk about prime Peyton Manning, that 2003 to 2010 stretch when he wasn't just elite, he was untouchable. More than any quarterback in NFL history, Peyton owned the pre-snap moment. He walked to the line of scrimmage and orchestrated chaos. Omaha, kill, Mike 52, alert! He wasn't just yelling nonsense. He was rearranging the playbook in real time. He'd read the coverage, shift protections, change the route concepts, and tell the running back where to block, then snap it with 2 seconds on the clock after seeing everything. He didn't just beat defenses, he solved them. Peyton didn't have the biggest arm, but what he had was placement. He threw receivers open, he hit tight windows before DBs even broke, and his anticipation was next level. And his timing with his receivers was surgical. It didn't matter if it was Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, or Demaryius Thomas. Manning elevated everyone around him. His throws weren't just completions. They were in stride, in rhythm, and devastating. Let's look at the 2004 season that Peyton Manning produced. 4,557 yards, 49 touchdowns, an NFL record at the time, 121.1 passer rating, MVP, only 10 interceptions, and a 12-4 record. That season changed the quarterback position, but that wasn't the only year. He had 6 consecutive 4,000-plus yard seasons, 4 MVPs between 2003 to 2009, 11 12-plus win seasons, and the Colts offense was top 3 in scoring for 5 straight years. He wasn't a product of the system because he was the system. You needed 80 yards, 90 seconds, no timeouts, no problem. Manning ran hurry up better than anyone before or after him. He didn't look to the sideline because he was the sideline. He'd call the play, adjust the route, change the protection, snap, strike, spike, and repeat. He didn't just manage time, he bent it. It was like watching a quarterback and offensive coordinator fused into one body. But here's the thing about greatness. There's always a shadow. For Peyton Manning, that shadow was January. He made the playoffs almost every year he played, but early in his career, the postseason was rough. He lost his first 3 playoff games, he struggled against New England in the cold, and critics said he couldn't win the big one. And yet, he kept showing up, kept putting up MVP caliber seasons, and kept pushing the Colts to the top of the AFC. Until finally, in 2006, it clicked. The Colts stormed through the playoffs. In the AFC Championship that year, Manning overcame a 21-6 deficit against Tom Brady's Patriots, throwing for 349 yards and leading a game-winning drive. 25. It was the defining moment of his career. And then came the Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears and the league's top defense. 25 for 38, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, Super Bowl champion, and Super Bowl MVP. He'd silenced the critics. And we can't ignore what Peyton did after his neck surgery either. Many thought that he'd never play again. Instead, he joined the Denver Broncos and had one of the greatest quarterback seasons ever. 5,477 passing yards, an NFL record. 55 touchdowns, also an NFL record. 115.1 passer rating, 13-3 record, and another MVP. At this point, he was 37 years old. And that offense put up 606 total points, the most in NFL history. He took Emmanuel Sanders, Wes Welker, Julius Thomas, Eric Decker, and turned them into one of the most explosive units ever seen. Even in the loss to Seattle in Super Bowl 48, his numbers still dwarfed the league. Now, let's be clear about something. No quarterback changed the way football is played more than Peyton Manning. Before Manning, play calling came from the sideline. After Manning, quarterbacks were expected to process like coaches. He was a culture shift. He forced teams to invest more in preparation. Defenses had to disguise looks until the final second, and audibles became part of football vernacular. Even Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow today study how Peyton dissected defenses, because no one read the field better. Let's look at his career. He was a 5-time NFL MVP, the most all-time, a 14-time Pro Bowl selection, 7-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. He was the NFL All-2000 second-team quarterback, 71,940 career passing yards, 539 career touchdown passes, 200 career wins including the playoffs, and a 2021 Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee. There's nothing left to prove because Peyton Manning rewrote the record book and then kept going. Peyton's final season wasn't pretty on paper. His arm was fading, the zip wasn't there, and he threw more picks than touchdowns. But he still won. He led the Broncos to a 12-4 record and handed the keys to the defense, which carried them to a victory in Super Bowl 50. Manning rode off into the sunset, a 2-time champion, 5-time MVP, and a legend without debate. He was command. The most cerebral, calculated, meticulous quarterback the league has ever seen. He didn't play quarterback, he mastered it. He was a coach in cleats, a perfectionist with a cannon, and a competitor with ice in his veins. If you needed 40 touchdowns, he'd give you 49. If you needed 80 yards in 90 seconds, he only needed 78 seconds. If you needed a culture built from scratch, he gave you a dynasty. Prime Peyton Manning was surgical brilliance with a football, and if you weren't ready, he already knew. You hear people say Peyton Manning was a coach on the field, and that's not a metaphor, that's literal. He wasn't waiting for a headset to buzz in, he was already adjusting routes, protections, and blocking angles live. Watch old Colts tapes. You'll see linemen turning to confirm adjustments, tight ends shifting based on a singular finger wave, and wideouts resetting their routes mid-play call. He'd use dummy calls just to get the safety to flinch, then wait, watch, and confirm. Then he'd kill the play, a new formation, and same composure. Every single snap with Peyton was a cerebral performance. He ran the show, and the defense, they were just hoping they guessed right. Now let's talk about one of the biggest rivalries of all time, Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady. And it wasn't just a quarterback rivalry, it was the quarterback rivalry, and it was perfect. Brady, drafted 199th in the 6th round, the underdog, the system guy. Peyton Manning, number 1 overall, the chosen one, the prodigy. They played 17 times in their careers. Brady led the early series, but once Manning's defenses improved, the rivalry turned a little bit. Every AFC championship between them felt like a Super Bowl. In 2006, there was Manning's comeback win versus New England. In 2013, the Omaha game where he diced up Belichick's scheme for 400+ yards. And in 2015, his final playoff win over Brady to send Denver to the Super Bowl. And here's what made it special: respect. Both guys never ducked the spotlight. They never dodged the moment, and they raised each other's level. Brady once said, quote, "If you're not getting better, Peyton's catching you." That rivalry didn't just shape seasons, it shaped legacies. Teammates speak about Peyton Manning with a mix of admiration and exhaustion because he worked that hard. There are stories of Manning watching film until 3 a.m. He would make rookies rerun walkthroughs if they got a route step wrong. And he required perfect timing in red zone drills. And he held himself to the same standard, always. One player said, quote, "He didn't ask us to be perfect. He demanded it because he was giving us perfect first." He set the culture in Indy and later in Denver too. Winning wasn't an outcome for Peyton. It was the expectation. Today's NFL is filled with Peyton disciples, even if they didn't play with him. Joe Burrow has the pre-snap command, Justin Herbert has the pocket patience, and Patrick Mahomes has the ability to dissect coverage mid-play. All of it echoes back to Peyton Manning because he made it cool to be brilliant, to win with your brain, and to outthink defenders, not just outrun them. Every young quarterback now is expected to control the offense because Peyton proved what was possible when one man did. You don't just follow a guy like that. You study him, obsess over him. You try to become him. When Peyton Manning arrived in Indianapolis, the Colts weren't contenders. They were a middle-of-the-pack franchise with a decent history and a quiet fan base. But by the time he left, they had a brand new stadium, a decade of sold-out crowds, 11 playoff appearances in 13 years, 8 division titles, 2 AFC championships, 1 Super Bowl ring, and a golden standard that's still being chased today. Peyton Manning was the Colts, from the playbook to the press conference, from the locker room to Lucas Oil Stadium, and he made that city believe in greatness. So let's spell it out clearly. He was a walking encyclopedia of defenses, a machine of preparation, and a silent assassin who never flinched. He didn't improvise like Mahomes, he didn't scramble like Lamar, and he didn't have the rocket arm of Josh Allen. But he didn't need it, because Peyton won before the snap. He dismantled you with clarity, logic, and precision. It was like watching a grandmaster play chess blindfolded and still win in 12 moves. He gave you 50 touchdowns. He gave you MVPs. And he gave you surgical drives and 12-win seasons like clockwork. And he gave you a legacy of what quarterback play should look like when every detail matters. But what do you think? Do you think Peyton Manning was the smartest quarterback ever, or was he the most unstoppable pocket passer of all time? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.